Hey guys, Matt here with MP Power Sports, and we are back here with part 5 on the KX250 rebuild. Back in part 4, which was last week's video, we finished up the motor, which was the right side. We finished up the clutch and all that stuff, and we actually put the top end on. The things I have done since then that we didn't get to film, but it's very, very small. Basically put the power valve covers on the front and the left side, and also on the right side. So we got that in, as well as we got the front sprocket on. We actually got the reeds in with the new intake boot. For the reeds, we went with Boyson. The old ones on one side was fine, on the other side it was chipped on one end. We needed to replace that regardless. The motor is finally done. So what we have done, we also did not get it on tape, but what we have done is we just did a quick wipe down. We didn't go too crazy on the frame or anything, because we are going to power wash it and detail it when it's all said and done. And we also finished in part 4 the rear shock rebuild, and you can see, the before and after is awesome on that one. I can't wait to see how that feels when you actually sit on the bike. The last thing I just started doing before Tyler got home from work is swapping over the bar setup. We're going with Mica bars. I already swapped over the front brake. I told you a little bit about that last week, how it was a little of an issue. I got that swapped over, so that's all good. The only thing I'm gonna be doing now is finishing the bar setup. I'm gonna put new grips on the twist tube. Found out that one of the bolts is bad, so I'm gonna replace that bolt. I'm gonna replace the front brake and the clutch lever itself, front brake and rear brake pads, and we're gonna get the motor in here. Then we're gonna connect the wiring harness, and then if we have time, we're gonna put the wheels and the plastics on. Without further ado, let's get into it. What I like to do when I do my bar setup, just get it about finger tight to where you can still play with the bars, move them around, see how you like them. We're probably gonna have to do this again once the bike's off the stand. We're just getting this on so we can actually have the setup. Just making sure it's even on the left and the right side. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put this front brake reservoir on the bar first. Okay, we're gonna leave that just there right now. Now for the twist tube. This bolt is absolutely stripped. I had to basically whack the crap out of it to make a torque spit out of it so I can get it out without having to drill it out. Now we're going to replace this with... Alright. Little trick is you can use WD-40. What that does is it lubes it up so it makes it easier to go on. Now that the grips are on, we are going to put the brake lever on. It works. We're going to tighten the throttle bolts itself. Okay, good. Now we got the new grips on, we got the bar, we got the front brake. We're gonna have to bleed the front brakes, but we'll do that once we get the front wheel on. Alright, so whenever you're putting the engine in, you're gonna wanna do, feed it in just until it's flush with the swing arm. Once that's in, you wanna make sure everything is ready for the engine to slide right in. There's a few ways you can do that. Some people drop the engine in up first, then back down. Some people put the back in first, then bring the top in. Since the Kawasaki almost has a cradle type frame, we're gonna put the top of the motor in first, and then feed in the back, slide it into the swing arm, and then slide that bolt through, and then tighten down this bolt. First, we're gonna put that right there on the stand to make more room for us. We already have the radiators removed. Basically, just going to drop it, get a good grip, free position. There we go, engine's in. What we're gonna do, light taps to the cases. There you go, engine, obviously not tightened down or anything, but it's in. Okay, now with that bolt in, just thread on the nut. We're not gonna tighten any of them until all the bolts in, which include the front mount, the bottom mount, and then we'll also do the head mount too. Let's grab the bolts there. Pretty sure they're a little dirty. We're gonna just clean off the excess grease and gunk, re-lube it up. It's a bit too much grease. The reason I do the swing arm mount first is because then when you're doing the front and the bottom mount, it's a little easier. All you have to do is just slightly lift the engine and slide it right through. On the bottom mount, I'm gonna lift with my thumb and push it right in there. Now, on the front one, same thing, lift and push it right there. Now we're just gonna double make sure that they're all the way pressed through. Press to make sure it's all the way through, which they are. Good. Now our engine bolts are at least on, and now we just need to get the nuts threaded on. We'll torque it down after. Now we're gonna do bottom next. Now that we got the engine in, we're basically just gonna put all the small stuff on, attach all the wiring, and see how that goes. We're just gonna throw this just finger tight because again, we're gonna have to fill with oil because there's no oil in it. Next, we're gonna go throw a spark plug in. You don't want to over tighten your spark plug just till it's snug. Okay, now once the spark plug is tightened down, get your spark plug cap, get it until it clicks. There you go, not rocket science. Now, since we have these two, I skipped a step actually, I apologize. Since we torqued down and tightened the front and the bottom mount, we do have to tighten the swing arm mount right here. You first gotta find out what socket that is. I doubt it's a 22. Never mind, it is a 22. Just about there. Good. So now after that, because we do have to install a kill switch, and then we also do need to install the stator itself. So the stator right here has all these. They are color coordinated. We're gonna grab this and we're going to connect the wires. So we're gonna go green, white to green, white, red and white to red and white. Okay, now over here, I don't know if you can see this, Tyler. Just a solid red, which is gonna be right here. And then we have a red and black. Guess in the red and black goes right there, so red and black goes there. And this white, this is the old kill switch. So the kill switch is plugged to this, and then it goes there. So then this one is the white, goes right there. Okay. So now our stator is fully wired up. Now we just need to unplug this old kill switch, unplug this, and then we're gonna have to ground that. So there's two grounds, one for the ignition coil, and then one for the kill switch. Now that is done, we're gonna grab our new kill switch and we're going to route it through this loop right here. There we go. Now we're going to take this, feed it now down underneath here, plug in the wire. There you go. And then again, we have to ground these two. I'm gonna grab that 8mm bolt, put it through there, pull in there, start threading it in just a little bit. Now we have a good ground. Kill switch is hooked up. You want to get this done before you do anything else, or put the gas tank on or put more parts on it, because if you do that, you have no room to access the ignition coil. So now we're going to zip tie the wires to the frame just so it's routed a little cleaner. Okay, now we're gonna do the top mount for the head, and we're gonna zip tie it to the head. It's gonna go right there, hold it in place. Everything's gonna be good. Then we're gonna hook up the coolant lines. You're gonna basically slide that in, the fat bolt down there. And you're gonna go to the other side, grab the other mount, thread it on. Okay, there you go. All mounts are in and they are tight. So now we're gonna do the last little bit of routing for stator wire. There you go. Now when that's done and you are fully routed, then you cut off the ends of your zip ties to make it look clean. So now we have our wiring from stator routed in, we have the ignition coil on, we have our new kill switch installed, CDI is installed, so that's all plugged in. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this carburetor on. So the carburetor, we didn't show you, but we had everything vapor blasted. We already checked and all the jets are absolutely perfect. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be able to see something with this one. This is the main jet. Tyler, you want to hold this one? So now we are going to have to install the main jet and the pilot jet. Main jet goes right just like that, and the pilot jet goes down in there just like that. And we're going to have to get our flathead, our small flathead, and tighten that up so it gets tight. These are very delicate. You don't want to over tighten it. You'll break the tip off. So once it gets tight, just about that, you give it a little oomph, and then you're good. Now these, some of them are 6mm, some of them are 5mm for the main jet. You can just get a wrench again, it's not too tight. So you just get it to where it's, you feel it pushing back on you, and then you're done. So now we have the main and the pilot jet in. What we're going to do now is install the flip assembly. You're gonna drop that in, just like that. And you are going to put the pin holding it in just like that. Last but not least, we're gonna do the bolt. Push the gasket into the bolt itself, just like that. And then we're gonna slide it in, just like that. Now, once that's in, then we're gonna put our 4 screws in. Now we're gonna bring this over here. These, you don't wanna get too tight, just to where they're snug. Very easy to strip. There we go. Now our carb, for the most part, is together. What we're gonna have to do is the air mixture screw, the idle screw, and the choke itself. Choke is very easy. Push it in, and then you screw this plastic thread. Choke on, choke off. Very simple. Same thing with the idle screw. Goes right in, and then it screws on. And you'll see it poking through at the top, right there. We're gonna let just the needle set just right there, and then I'm gonna adjust the idle screw once we have it running. Same thing with the air mixture screw. I'm just gonna get it in, and I'm going to actually adjust it when the bike is running. So we're gonna have to tune it. When I do air mixture screws, my most successful starting point is 2.5 turns out. So you turn all the way to the right, adjust where it is. 1, 2.5. So our carb is complete. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna put our carburetor to the side right there, and we're gonna route our throttle cable. Your throttle cable, you don't want the gas tank sitting on it. So what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna get a rag. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna wipe off any of the dust, dirt, or grime, or grease. Once that's clean for the most part, push it in. It only goes in one way. See the half moon? Half moon slides right in. And if you have troubles of going in, you can see it actually sliding in. That's actually where the main jet goes. And you get it. You get the cap on, turn clockwise until it gets snug. Before putting your carb in, make sure that your clamp is loose. There we go. Now once the carb is in, then you tighten up your clamp so you have a tight fit. You don't want any air leaks. This can mess with your performance, your idling, everything, all the above. Now we have our carb in. So right now we're just gonna hook up the coolant lines. So we got the bottom line on. All hose clamps are 6mm. Get them just to where it's snug, not too tight. I have to get the other one tight. Okay, it's starting to get a little tight. And there we go. I'm gonna throw some fresh bolts, holding the radiator together. One radiator is on, time for the next. Now our radiators are on tight. We're ready to push the hoses on. Now this can actually spin. Look at that. Crazy. So now I'm going to put the hoses on. We're going to get that on. Get the clamp. There you go. And once they're there, you tighten them up. So then you just tighten them again just to where it's a little snug. Alright, last hose. Now it is looking like an engine. It's getting pretty late, so I think a good point for us is we're gonna get the rear shock in. We're gonna get the tires on, the front and the rear. Okay, last thing we're gonna do for tonight is just drop in the freshly rebuilt shock in. Just gonna get it threaded just a little bit so it holds up, and then we're gonna get the bottom in. Okay, there you go. Go. We're gonna go up top. Now to torque this down, we're gonna have to use an open socket wrench. I'll show you exactly why. So it's going on cockeyed because the mount for subframe is in the way. There you go. Shock is in. Hey guys, we're back here from yesterday to finish part 5 for the KX250. Today we are going to basically piece the whole bike together. What I already did off camera was I installed the new front brake pads and the rear brake pads. The caliper, we're going to degrease that and detail that, so don't worry about that, that'll look good. But I also went ahead and cleaned the airbox for the most part. It was absolutely gunked up and everything. Cleaned it up, got the new rear fender on there, so this is looking pretty good. So now we're basically just going to get onto the part of actually feeding it in, and we should be all good to go. So let's start with that. All right, now it's on. Now before we get the subframe bolts in, I'm gonna go ahead and get this clamp tight. All right, let's move up to the other side. All right, now once they're all in, then you can tighten them down. Now our subframe is installed, and this bike's starting to finally look like a bike. Cool. Now with that, we're gonna get the exhaust on. Got the expansion chamber. Slide this in. There we go. Alright, here we go. Exhaust is in. Okay guys, so we ran into an issue. Originally, I ordered a Bill's pipe for it. It was a Bill's pipe, just a silencer, and it was for KX250. They, again, on Rocky Mountain ATV, they were all sold out of stock, so we had to go through eBay. They sent us, I got this from, I think, ATVs Unlimited. We're waiting to hear back from them to see if they're gonna back their word or whatever. But basically, we got this, and they sent the Pro Circuit. And this is for KX125. I ran the part number and everything. As you can see, the diameter on the silencer is the same exact diameter as the expansion chamber, so it's not going to fit. This ruins a lot of things. Number one, and most importantly, it's the customer's birthday. The bike was going to be ready for him and he was going to ride. Because originally when I got it and it was the Pro Circuit, I called them and they said that basically they were like, oh, it's a more expensive exhaust, so you lucked out. And I was like, well, does it fit? They said, yes, it does. Well, it does not. So I messaged them basically saying that it does not fit. I'm going to wait to see what they say, but basically this is holding us up. So we'll get back to you guys when we get a new one in stock. Hey guys, it's Matt here with Power Sports, and we're back today on the KX250 build. Last we left off, we found out that the exhaust we ordered did not fit, even though that the company we got from said it was going to fit. We reached out to them. They basically did not back their work. They're not doing a refund. They're not exchanging anything, so I'm not going to talk bad about them. But we went actually through Pro Circuit themselves, and they had the last one in stock for $19.94. So that's really cool. So we finally got that on, as you can see here. We got a little sub right now, so we don't have Tyler, because Tyler's in Florida living it up. So we got Joe. So if the quality sucks, I'm not sorry. I don't know what to say. We got the exhaust on. It's got the little ding-a-ling at the end of it. No, motherfucker. Different than the 125 that we have, wherever it is. Now I just have that for backup. So if you have a KX125 and you need a Pro Circuit exhaust, hit me up. I don't want it. But everything's looking good on that end. So now we're basically back to finishing up the bike. So we're gonna put on the small parts. We put the rear brake pedal on already. We put the rear brake pads, the front brake pads already. So realistically, everything's looking good. So now we just have to do a bunch of the small parts for this KX, and it should be all good. So that includes the wheel sets on. Again, we already got the tires in last video. So we just have to put the wheels on, fill up with coolant, fill up with oil, put the gas tank on, put an air filter in, put the plastics on, the shroud covers. Just one plastic on, obviously with the back fender. Just makes this thing look absolutely beautiful. We're gonna do all the small stuff. Might talk to you on the way. If not, we're gonna get a little montage in. Without further ado, let's get after it.
You tell I got a slow-mo of this. Not you in slow-mo.
We're gonna save these ones for last because obviously that holds the seat on. Let's move over to the other side.
There's one fucking grease mark. Tyler, edit this out. Bing bong.
Okay guys, I apologize. We have a special guest videographer. Do we even call you a videographer? No.
I'm subbing in.
There you go. Kickstart is on.
I just call it kickstart and not just like a starter stick.
Moving on. A lot of older bikes, they actually have the oil capacity printed on the inner clutch cover or the clutch cover itself. So this right here says 0.85 of a liter, which is just 850 milliliters. I do about 5 heat cycles, and then after that, I do an oil change. What that does is A, tells you a lot how the build is running on the inside after you close it back up, and B, it's super healthy for the engine because when you do the heat cycles, it has a little bit more wear on it because everything's breaking in. There could be excessive debris that gets off the bearings or anything from breaking in. Anytime you break in a bike, even if you get from the dealership, they tell you to do the heat cycles and then throw fresh oil in. So again, we did 500, it's 850, so we're doing 350. Call me a bartender.
Real talk, do you like the white Hoosiers or the yellow Hoosier?
Bro, that's not yellow, that's white, that's just worn, and that's new.
Oh.
Now we got oil, so that's all good. Looking at amber in there, love that. Obviously, you always want to check leaks. You know, the first start too, because you'll have more pressure inside the motor. But yeah, everything's looking good on that aspect. We're gonna throw the air filter in, throw the wheels on, well, gas cap actually on. Fill it up with gas, put the coolant in there, get this baby sing. Whenever Joe does his air filter, he oils it with his bare hands, and then always complains that it's a pain in the ass to get off his hands.
Yeah, because then I gotta scrub my paws for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, so you get these, they're paw cleaners.
Ow, that really hurt.
Oh god. Alright, we are looking good.
Flick it. Yeah.
Now we got the air filter on.
You got the shop pup.
There we go. Alright, we went with primary drive. We went an X-ring, gold chain. It looks beautiful. Primary drive has chains that we don't have to break. All we had to do is install it. X rings on this side. Slide it in. There you go. Little quick tip, always have the open side facing the back of the chain. If you have it front facing, think about the wheel spinning this way. If it ever catches in a rut, it could open this up and your chain pop off. There you go. I'm just gonna tighten it just a little bit. You want to run 3 fingers from the swing arm bolt for the chain slide, and it should be good to go. Good, perfect. I'm gonna tighten up that 12, that lock nut. That quick trick is you basically put a wrench or screwdriver, anything in between the sprocket and the chain, and then roll it back. What that does is it ensures that the block is all the way touching the bolt of where you had it adjusted. So look, I'm gonna pull it back and it's gonna get tight. Now there's a little gap, pull it back, and now you're in. And then you can tighten your axle bolt, and then you know you're pressed all the way up against. Alright, now with these old school bikes, the axle's a little bit different than normal axles. Normally you have the actual axle bolt and the nuts on the end. This one threads into the lower fork itself. There we go. And then you tighten up the 8 pinch bolts. Now last thing we gotta do is fill this thing with coolant, fill it with gas, put the seat on, take it outside, and here's this thing start. Alright, the last bolt. There we go. Alright, we got the KX out here. Again, everything is complete on the bike. It looks absolutely beautiful in sunlight. The motors look spotless. Everything just looks really, really good. For 1994, this thing looks absolutely beautiful. Finally got the silencer that we were waiting for. Just as soon as I took it off the stand down in the shop, remember when I rebuilt the rear shock, guys? It is absolutely minty. Before, you would push down and it was like a trampoline. It would bounce up and down and the whole thing would rattle. Everything's looking good. I really can't wait to hear this thing run. We wanted to wait for you guys to hear the first startup on this thing. Without further ado, let's see how it goes. I might have to tune the carb a little bit, but I can't wait to hear this thing. Let's just see how it goes. Choke or no choke, Joe? You think you should do choke a little bit or no choke? Let's try no choke.
Let's try no choke.
Let's see if luck's on my side. I mean, I think the build's awesome. I'm confident in no choke, but we'll see. Yeah, we're gonna prime it 3 times. Nice. 2, 3. Woo! Ah, you did a freaking turkey. Floppy, floppy, flop. Alright, we're gonna do the first heat cycle, which is basically letting it run as it is right now. Small rev, just like that. You don't want to go over half throttle. Just let the whole thing warm up together. It's got a fresh top, bottom end, transmission, everything. We're gonna let it heat up. Once it's at hot temperature, the radiators are warm and hot, and the cylinder jug is hot. We're gonna shut off, let it cool down, and then move on to the second heat cycle. We had the first heat cycle done. We also did the second heat cycle. So we didn't have battery life for the second heat cycle, but we're on the third heat cycle. Everything went well within the first and second. So we're gonna do the third. We let it cool down a little bit more. We had some lunch. Temperatures where it should be at right now. See how this one goes. On the third one, you can get on the bike and ride. Cruise, just go through up and down the gears on the street. You don't want to beat on it yet. You start beating on it in the fourth and last of fifth heat cycle, and then you know that everything's good. Sometimes when you do your heat cycles, the motor will start braking and everything, and the idle will go a little higher. We had the idle a little too high. So that's what I have right now. I had to lower it. As soon as I started, I heard it. The idle was way too high. So we lowered that. It's a little bit better. All right, let's go take it out. So first, I'm just going to go through slow in the backyard, and then once I realize everything's working well, we're going to stick on the street and go all the way up to 5th gear. So far, so good. Alright, let's take it to the street. Everything's going well. So everything's feeling good on the bike after the third heat cycle. The transmission is shifting smooth like butter. As much as I can tell without beating on it, it has the power. Engine sounds good and healthy. Everything else I touched, the rear shock is good, tires obviously are good, everything's working well, brakes are biting just as they should. No oil leaks, nothing like that. We're gonna let this cool down. Yeah, radiators are warm, cylinder and head are warm to hot, so that's good. With that being said, we're gonna let this cool off. We're gonna bring this back around the house, let this cool off, and then we'll catch you back for the 4th heat cycle. All right, so we're on the 4th heat cycle. We're letting it warm up right now. The radiators are almost at temperature. We're just gonna let it warm up, and then we'll take it to the street for the 4th heat cycle. Woo. 4th heat cycle's good. This thing's got a shit ton of power. Everything's sounding good. Everything's riding good. We just finished up with the 5th heat cycle. It was absolutely awesome. I mean, it's the same thing as the 4th heat cycle, just doing it once more over to make sure everything's good. Yeah, this bike is absolutely awesome. It's ready to go. I'm gonna call the customer right now and tell him that he can come on the way to grab the bike. All said and done, super excited how that bike turned out. It is absolutely awesome. I cannot wait to see a smile on his face when he rides that thing. It was a long time coming. We ran into a few issues. Without further ado, that's it. Bike came out awesome. Speechless. Nothing bad to say. So I can't wait for him to pick it up. So with that being said, we're done here and we'll catch you for next build.